What are you doing inside right now? It's beautiful out.
RK gave us this big assignment and I decided it was finally a good time to start reading a book for this class.
But that was funny, huh?
William Shakespeare was born on April 23rd, 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon to a pronounced merchant and glove-maker who were part of the middle class. His family had very few books, so he attended a local grammar school called the King's School. Here he learned how to read, speak, and write in Latin. When his family could no longer pay for his schooling, he later had to drop out. At the age of 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, who was 26 years old. Together they had 3 children, named Susanna, Hamnet, and Judith. Despite dropping out of school, Shakespeare became a famous poet and wrote over 150 sonnets. He became an actor in Lord Chamberlain's Men and the King's Men. Shakespeare wrote over 37 plays and became famously known as the Bard. He never made much money from his works, but did earn some money from having a share in the Globe Theatre. On April 23, 1616, Shakespeare passed away.
With some exceptions of love and romance stories such as Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare mainly wrote plays about history or corrupt rulers. The play Julius Caesar depicts a change in Roman politics that may have connected with viewers at a time Queen Elizabeth I had legal heir, which created the possibility for future problems in England. Julius Caesar is believed to have been written in 1599, with the first performance following shortly after. The play is told from the perspective of a Roman politician named Brutus, who struggles with conflicting ideas with Caesar about honor, patriotism, and friendship. The scene we will be performing is Act 3, Scene 1, when Cassius and Brutus assassinate Julius Caesar.
Some key characters in the play are Julius Caesar, Brutus, Cassius, Casca, and Mark Antony. Although the play is named after Caesar, we don't see much of him throughout the performance. Caesar is a successful military leader who is blinded by his ambition for the Roman crown. He believes he is as eternal as the North Star, or immortal. Caesar is liked by the commoners, but hated by his so-called friends, who do not want him to become king and fear that he will turn Rome into a monarchy. Brutus is a noble magistrate of Rome who thinks that Caesar is going to be a tyrant if he takes over. Brutus is best friends with Caesar, but believes that Caesar's death will benefit Rome. Brutus ends up literally stabbing Caesar in the back in fear for the future of Rome. Cassius does not like how admired Caesar has become, and is the leader of the conspirators. He manipulates Brutus to believe that Caesar has become too powerful by sending Brutus forged letters that convince him that Caesar must fall. Casca is a fellow conspirator of Brutus and Cassius. He believes Caesar was acting when he had climbed the crown 3 times because he wants the people to believe he's not ambitious. Casca is also the first person to stab Caesar. Mark Antony is a good friend of Caesar's and supports him in his ruling. When Caesar is killed, Antony pretends to be on Brutus and Cassius' side in order to save his own life. At Caesar's funeral, Antony reads Caesar's will of possessions that he left to the people of Rome.
The play starts out with a celebratory parade for Caesar. Everyone is in the streets watching Caesar as he returns home after defeating Rome's rival in battle. A townsman calls out to Caesar to beware the Ides of March, but he is ignored and Caesar continues his victory celebration. Brutus and Cassius, Caesar's best friends, notice that he is gaining a lot of followers and supporters. They believe they must do something about it. Caesar notices Brutus and Cassius talking privately and tells Mark Antony that he does not trust them. That night, a violent storm hits the town, and Cassius and Brutus come up with a plan to remove Caesar of his power. The next morning, Caesar's wife warns Caesar not to go to the Senate Hall because she had a nightmare of him being killed. Caesar refuses to listen and continues on with his business.
I could well be moved if I were as you. If I could pray to move, prayers would move me. But I'm as constant as the northern star, of whose true fixed and resting quality there is no fellow in firmament. The skies are painted with unnumbered sparks. They are fire, and every one doth shine. But there's one in all doth hold his place. So in the world. 'Tis furnished well with men, and men are flesh and blood, and apprehensive. Yet in the number I do know but one that unassailable holds his rank, unshaked of motion, and that I am he. Let me a little show it even in this, that is constant Cimber should be banished, and constant do remain to keep him so. Doth not Brutus bootless kneel?
Speak, hands foamy.
At you, brute, then fall, Caesar.
Some to the common pulpits and cry out liberty, freedom, and enfranchisement.
People and senators, be not affrighted, fly not, stand still. Ambition's debt is paid. Fates, we will know your pleasures. That we shall die, we know. 'Tis but the time, and drawing days out, that men stand upon.
Why he that cuts off 20 years of life cuts off so many years of fearing death.
Grant that, and then death is a benefit. So we are Caesar's friends, and have abridged his time of fearing death. Stoop, Romans, stoop, and let us bathe our hands in Caesar's blood. Up to the elbows and besmear our swords. Then we walk forth, even to the marketplace, and waving our red weapons over our heads, let's all cry out, peace, freedom, and liberty.
Stoop, then, and wash.
How many times shall Caesar bleed in sport, that now on Pompey's basis lies along no worthier than the dust?
So oft that shall be, so often shall that not be us be called, the men that gave their country liberty. The scenes following this performance include one of Caesar's friends, Mark Antony. He's saddened by the fact that his friend is dead, and when Brutus and Cassius see him down, they ask him if his loyalty to their group is true. Antony must pretend to support them if he wants to survive. After Caesar's funeral, Brutus and Cassius get into a big argument because Brutus finds out that Cassius has been accepting bribes. Brutus is upset because he agreed to join the conspiracy, believing that killing Caesar was for the good of Rome, not for self-serving purposes. Eventually, the two of them make up and agree to fight side by side against their new enemy, which includes Mark Antony. Before they go into battle, Brutus and Cassius agree to both kill themselves if something was to go wrong in battle. When Cassius finds himself in a tough spot while fighting, he is the first one to kill himself. When Brutus finds Cassius's dead body a little while later, he asks his men to hold his sword out so he can run into it and kill himself. Right before Brutus is about to make his run, the ghost of Caesar appears before him on the battlefield. The ghost tells Brutus that it believes it is time for Brutus to die. Brutus claims that he is killing himself with motives twice as strong as his to kill Caesar. Brutus claims that Caesar should consider himself avenged, then kills himself.
This play is similar to Hamlet, another work by Shakespeare. The similarities of the ghost coming back and an empire ruling over a town can be seen in both plays. Betrayal of a family member and a best friend to get the crown was common between these works, showing how Brutus had the idea to kill Caesar and how Claudius killed Lord Hamlet. This play can also be compared to Macbeth in several ways. In Julius Caesar, Brutus is manipulated by Cassius to aid in the assassination of Caesar. Similarly, in Macbeth, Macbeth is convinced by Lady Macbeth to kill King Duncan. Like other Shakespearean works, Julius Caesar has many different themes throughout the play. One of the most prevalent themes is power. When Caesar's companions feel he is becoming too powerful, they feel threatened. They also feel that the ideals and values of Rome could also be at stake. While this seems like it would benefit Rome, it actually ends up in a civil war. The play never really shows us an ideal leader, which leads to the idea that politicians are corrupt, something that is still thought today.
Another big theme of the play is misunderstanding. Time and time again throughout the play, characters misunderstand signs that are given to them. The first time we see this occur is when Caesar is walking in his parade and is greeted by the soothsayer. He tells Caesar to beware the Ides of March. This means that Caesar needs to be cautious on the 15th of March. Caesar ignores the man, and of course on the 15th of March, Caesar is assassinated. That was not the only time Caesar was warned about this death, though. The night before he was assassinated, his wife had a nightmare of Caesar being killed. Caesar let his ambition for the crown get the best of him, as he was told that he was going to be crowned king that day. This is what convinced him to leave for the Senate and ignore his wife's warning. One of the most important lessons to take away from this play is that you cannot let ambition and greed steer you away from what is really important in life. Another lesson is that you need to be careful of who you trust. As we see people in the play being manipulated and killed by who they thought were their friends, overall, we thought the play was very easy to understand. We felt that the plot was pretty straightforward, and the overall themes of the play were easy to pick out.
We did not like this work as much as other Shakespearean works we have read in the past, such as Macbeth. We felt that it was obvious what was going to happen next, so it was predictable. However, the play teaches several good lessons that are still applicable today. In conclusion, we felt this play was a good choice for us.